All right, so in the dance music community, there's always been a bit of a divide between these two mixers. The Pioneer DJM900 Nexus and the Allen Heath Xone 92. A lot of people say this one sounds a lot warmer, the filters are better. You know, a lot of people really prefer this mixer over the DJM900 Nexus, which is a digital mixer, has effects built in and all that kind of stuff. And this one is an analog mixer, and there's inherent differences to them. So I thought I would do some tests and try to figure out what they were. Which one's better? Well, let's find out. I wanted to go ahead and show you how I have everything set up. I have the CDJ900 set up as a digital input on the mixer, Pioneer mixer on channel 1. And I also have the line input split right and left into channel 2 on the line input and channel 1 on the Allen Heath. I have both of the XLRs set up through a Behringer UMC 404 HD audio interface. It's not the best, but as long as they're both the same, it should be pretty good. I'm using a Samsung Rubicon monitor just for monitoring, and I'm using a plugin called Scope, SCHOPE, and Cubase 5, and 24 bits, 96 kilohertz sample rates for the input. Okay, so this is just a straight up 1 kilohertz sine wave tone on the CDJ900. I'm going to line up both of these are at 1x zoom. I'll zoom out the whole way here, and we'll get these both at about -6 dB. That seems about right. So looks like the Pioneer needs to come up a little bit. So those seem about the same to me. Yeah, those seem about the same. Let me get this looping. Okay. So there might be a little bit of a blip whenever this goes into its loop mode, but this will be a 1 kilohertz sine wave tone, and that will be where the blip is. Okay, so here's the frequency graph. You can see right here that it's on 1 kilohertz, very strong, and no visible distortion here, but whenever we zoom in, you can start to see at the 40x part, you can start to see harmonic distortion. These are, first, second, third. These are the harmonics that aren't in the original signal. I'll bump it up to, what is this? 100 times, about 199 times. This is the Allen Heath on the left. And just to prove that it's the Allen Heath, I'm going to pull down the volume here. See, and then the Pioneer is still working. Allen Heath on the left, 99 times zoom, and I'm going to bring the Pioneer up to 99 times zoom. There we go. You notice that there is a harmonic here, but surprisingly there isn't one here, which should be the most prominent, and barely anything here. I mean, and I'm not going to say that the Pioneer won't have distortion, because clearly it does. And if we bounce these all the way up to, 1,000 times zoom, you can see these a lot more clearly. And you can also see the noise floor. There's a little bit more noise on the Pioneer. Granted, it's still pretty crazy low. But there's a little bit more noise on the Pioneer. Lots more distortion on the Allen Heath. And if I bring the tempo up and down, you'll see the harmonics move with them. So this is me going, here, wait, I'll get the tempo nice and wide. So this is me bringing the tempo up. All right, let's see, that's just the loop. But this is me bringing the tempo up. So the pitch of this sine wave tone is going up to, what is that? Probably 2 kilohertz, I would guess, yeah. And we can bring it also down and see, I believe the Pioneer actually distorts more at the lower frequencies. Let's see. So yeah, okay. Once we get down here, let's just about 50%, which this would be about 500 hertz. You can see the Pioneer start to distort about the same amount. I'll bring the zoom level down to something more realistic, like 200. Let's see. All right, 199, that's good enough. And we can, go down the frequencies a bit more. And the Pioneer looks like it's about on par with the Allen Heath. Okay, so this next one is a 30 hertz sine wave. Volumes are pretty much the same. Allen Heath on the left, Pioneer on the right. What we can do now is go into the frequency side. And we're looking 247, 247. So these are at the same range. Granted, the zoom level is way off because it's clipping out of this picture. So we'll bring the zoom level down to what, 0.2? And this one, 2.2. And we can see that they look about the same. I mean, there's not a whole lot going on here. Now, if we want to look at the harmonic distortion that may be happening, we'll bring the zoom out to 1000-ish. Okay, and then we'll zoom in until we start to see distortion. Not a whole lot. I mean, this is max zoom. Start it over. This is max zoom. Granted, see, there's a little bit more noise on the Pioneer side. But at the lower frequencies, they're pretty solid, man. Now, one thing we can try is a 19 kilohertz sine wave, which will be the very, very high end. This is the very, very high end. It's 19 kilohertz. And what we can do to see the 19 kilohertz sine wave and make sure our zoom levels are correct. Let's make sure that they're roughly the same volume. It does seem like the Allen Heath is a little bit brighter on the top end. This is without me adjusting the levels. I will bring the volume of the Pioneer up a little bit to match the level. I'm bringing the Pioneer level up a little bit just to match the level of the Allen Heath. 1.4. And you can notice right off the bat, the Allen Heath on the left, there's a lot more action going on here. And the way we can look at this a little bit more is to zoom in on the time side of things. And what we'll notice is the amplitude of this sine wave. And now granted, it looks like a little bit triangled off, but that could just be the sound card. I wouldn't give that too much merit. But when we zoom in on the Pioneer, it has some amplitude. It wavers a bit, but doesn't seem to be as much. And it's over a wider period. See if we zoom out a little bit. How do we get to 6 milliseconds? So the Allen Heath is on the left and the Pioneer is on the right. The Pioneer does seem to be a bit smoother, to be honest with you. If we go down to 17 milliseconds, this is at the very, very highest frequencies. Most people can't even hear this high, so I wouldn't really put too much merit into it. All right, this next one, we're just going to look at the filters. So the filters are very different on each of these. The Pioneer has a set resonance. You turn on the filter and it has whatever resonance it has. The Allen Heath, you can set the resonance to mild or wild. Basically, I don't know the specifics of the resonance. I'm sure in the manual that exists. But one thing that people don't understand is when you turn the filter on the Allen Heath, I'm not sure if you can see it in here, but when you turn the filter on, it affects the sound. Watch the frequency response on the left, which is the Allen Heath, and I'm just going to turn on the high-pass filter on the mixer. I'm just going to turn it on. It's all the way down. That's just turning it on. I haven't even touched it yet.
Like, look how much we lose. We lose a lot at that very, very low frequency. Now, a lot of people won't notice it because a lot of sound systems don't go down super low. Like, they only go down to like the 50 hertz level where there isn't much of a difference. But when I turn it back on, you notice how much more energy there is now. I'm going to zoom out of the whole thing so we get a better picture and get these to the same level, 2.7. Okay, so the Allen Heath filter is on, and I'm just going to turn the knob. You know, it's a very, very subtle effect. Although when you turn it the whole way up, there's still quite a bit of high frequency left. It's a very, very subtle slope, probably something like 6 dB. Now, if we do the same thing with the Pioneer, granted, here, I'll zoom in on this. When you turn the filter on and off, it doesn't make a difference. So filter on, filter off, doesn't make a difference. So you can technically leave the filter on the Pioneer on the whole time and then just turn it whenever you feel like it. So this is me turning the filter to the right. And you can definitely see a pronounced resonance here. And this is one thing that some people hate about the Pioneer mixer is that there's so much resonance on this filter. It's just a taste thing though. Some people like it, some people don't like it. Now here's what happens when you turn it the other way. And there we go, we got a low pass filter here. All the way down really low where it's basically turning off. So anyways, that's the, oh, and here, I'll do the Allen Heath. I'll turn the resonance on the Allen Heath mixer all the way up. So you can see it's a bit more like the Pioneer, but not even on the same level, to be honest with you. And this is to its maximum level. There's definitely going to be some resonance. But it's not as subtle as it was before, and it doesn't go as high as it was before. If we turn just the resonance down, you can see it'll go all the way up to the higher frequencies. Now, let's try to match the resonance at about 1 kilohertz, which is, you know, one of the loudest points in human hearing. Overshot it a little bit. Okay, so there you go. That's a 1 kilohertz filter. Pioneer on the right, Allen Heath on the left. There you go. So let's talk about distortion. One of the biggest issues with the Pioneer is people say it distorts very easily. Some people think that it compresses when you're in the red. Let's find out. Left is the Allen Heath, right is the Pioneer. Okay, just a reminder, there's 0 dB of attenuation on the Pioneer mixer right now. I generally don't set it up this way because DJs like to be in the red, unfortunately. So let's actually look at the sine wave on the right, and if you notice, it's a fairly solid sine wave right now. But once we get to the red, or even right before the red, you can start to see it squaring off. That is clear distortion. This is, without a doubt, a distorted signal at 1 kilohertz. Now, if we do something tricky, where you hold down on this utility button, and this could be different on the new Pioneer mixers, I'm not 100% sure. I know on the 800, I believe you could adjust it in on the back with like a screw. Anyways, ours is at minus 6 dB of attenuation, just as a standard setup. So now if we have it on minus 6 dB, I haven't touched the trim knobs at all, but you can see our sine wave is a lot clearer. And we're in the red. We're in the red right now. And we can get quite a bit louder. Like okay, now we're just starting to square off this sine wave. So I'd say right about here, we're clipping. And granted, we're 2 in the red right now. I'll start bringing this knob down slowly till we're out of 2 in the red. So just so you could notice, we're way over 2 in the red. And that's where we start clipping. Now, granted, you could go even further and attenuate this further to where you could go crazy with the levels, but minus 6 dB seems to be about the point we're at. But we're not distorting at all right here. Okay, so now let's look at the Allen Heath mixer. I'm going to go ahead and bring the gain knob up. Now we're at plus 3 dB. We're at plus 6 dB. And we're in the red, and we're just starting to square off. So red on the Allen Heath is actually clipping. It is clipping. Red on the Allen Heath is clipping. So yeah, stay out of the red on the Allen Heath. The Pioneer can be set up to clip basically wherever you want it to. But yeah.
So there you have it. The Allen Heath surprisingly has more distortion than the DJM900. Now, actually I say surprisingly, but it's really not a surprise because it's an analog mixer, and analog mixers are known to bring their own sound characteristics to whatever sound that you put through them. Same thing like tube amplifiers and, you know, guitar amplifiers and even the speaker cabinets and whatnot. Everything puts its own sound to it, and the digital mixer is very, very precise, very ones and zeros. But which one you'd like better, I think is preference. I mean, the Allen Heath has a 4-band EQ. This only has 3. This has effects built in, which a lot of DJs, including myself, love. This has an effects send and return effects. This has an effects loop, which is different, and different equipment can be used with them. So yeah, I think it's just preference. And I'd wager that if you were to A/B these on a nice sound system, 99% of the people wouldn't even be able to tell the difference. I'd actually be willing to do it if there was enough people interested. But yeah, there you go. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching. I enjoyed making it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff. See you soon.